Hey, how's it going? Today is day 92 of my 100-day inspiration challenge, and today I want to talk about being intentional. And I want to talk about this because life will be so much better if you are intentional about what you want and why you are doing the things that you are doing. I think that when we're not intentional, it is usually because either A, we don't know what we want, or B, we aren't happy with what we want, but we don't know how to change it. But it's such a small shift, but it is huge, the difference that comes from being intentional. And this is all across the board. So it's not just with business. This is just with the small moments. If you are intentionally focused on finding joy and bringing happiness and bringing smiles to other people's lives, you will become happier yourself. And some personal examples for me. So real quick, I just want to actually say, don't go through the motions of your life. Life is meant to be lived, and it is meant to be challenging, yes, but it is meant to grow and to become the greatest version of yourself. So don't waste it just going through the motions, not knowing what it is that you want or not caring what it is that you want, because deep down inside of you, there is something that cares. But for some reason, some of us have decided that it's not worth caring, or life is not worth fighting for, or it's not worth creating the life that we desire or the things that we want. So don't waste life just going through the motions. So like I was going to say, some examples of my life of not being intentional, how I used to not be intentional with my life is a small example. So I never used to floss. And for the longest time, the dentist always said, it's important to floss. And I thought, that's great. Thank you. And I never really did anything about it. I would do it, but I would do it like once every month. And if you're doing something once every month, then you're really not very intentional about it. It's not a priority. And so there is a relationship between things that are important to you, things that you make a priority. Key phrase is that you make them a priority, and being intentional with those things. So in order to be intentional with something, you have to make it important. You have to make it a priority, because this might be kind of hard to hear, but your life is the things that you are allowing. Everything in your life, everything in your schedule, everything in your day-to-day are there because you have chosen those things. Whether you have chosen to be with a certain significant other, whether you have chosen to have kids or not, whether you have chosen your job, because you don't have to have that specific job. There are so many people that say, I want to have a job that pays better, or a job that allows me to spend more time with my friends, but it's just not possible. And yet the thing is, there are people out there that have those jobs or have those things that you say that you want, and you are just not allowing it to happen because you are choosing other things instead that are taking up space in replace of those things that you actually want. So I know that was a little bit of a tangent. Going back, so I used to not floss regularly, and I knew that, I kind of knew that it was something that I should do. That was what my dentist told me, but it wasn't important to me, so I never did it. And then I had to get a root canal, and that was the most terrible experience of my life, perhaps one of the worst experiences. It was super painful, and suddenly flossing became important because I realized the connection between not flossing and having root canals. And also there's like genetics and stuff that goes with it, with your teeth. But I realized I'm going to do everything in my power to never have a root canal again because it was so terrible. So that is one example. Another example on a bigger scale is I used to just go through life, and I would go to different networking events or different like parties, And I never was intentional about why I was going. I would just go, and that was it. I would go. And a lot of times I was just going for the free food. But what a waste. What a waste, because there should be a reason for every single thing that you are doing in your life. Otherwise, why are you doing that thing? If you don't know why you're doing something, then what is the point? Why do it? So it is so important to be intentional. You know, you can go to different meetings and say, I want to learn this. I want to ask this question. I want to connect with this type of person, whatever it is. But something very simple and very specific will make such a huge difference if you can be intentional with everything around you for the next week, even. Try it for a week. If you can be intentional with every single situation, like A, I want to be happier, or B, I want to, when I go to these different events, I want to, these specific things, it will have a huge effect. It is like that slight edge, those small things that don't seem like a big deal in the day-to-day, but over a week, over a month, over 6 months, over a year, being intentional for that long will have such a huge payoff in your life. Your life isn't just happening to you. Opportunities are coming to you for a reason, because you are focused on those things. So that is another part of being intentional, is what are you focusing on, right? So it's what are you focusing on and what is important to you? What's a priority? So I have a couple different things that can help you to be intentional and help to create the life that you want, because ultimately, like I said, we have more power than we think, and it doesn't seem like it, but it all comes down to our day-to-day decisions. And like I said, like, you have kids for a reason. If you have kids for a reason, because either at one point you decided you wanted to have kids, or at one point you had relationships with somebody and then a kid came. It's a cause and effect. Or you have a job, maybe you hate it, but you have allowed yourself to stay at that job for a certain reason, because that choice, because maybe it pays your bills, or maybe it gives you safety or security, or maybe it gives you time off on the weekends, whatever it is, that is a choice that you made, but that does not have to be your ultimate life. You can choose to change your life if you are focused on it, if it is a priority, and if you are intentional, and remain intentional with it. So first things first is self-reflect. What do you want? Spend some time thinking about what would make you happy and what is the life that you really desire to have. And a good way to do this is, A, what am I happy about? What do I love? What do I want more of? And then also spending some time, just as much time, focusing on the things in your life that you aren't happy with. Maybe you feel really lonely, and maybe you want to have better relationships. That's amazing to realize, and it's possible. You can absolutely have better relationships. Anything that you want, you can be intentional about it, which will drive your actions, which will drive the results. And you can have those things. So the first thing is self-reflect on what it is you want. What would make you so happy? What would make you feel good and feel alive? The second thing is to be goal-driven. So again, focusing on what it is that you want and getting clear and specific on what it is you want in different areas of your life. Maybe you want better relationships. Maybe you want to find the love of your life. Maybe you need to do things for yourself. You need to work on yourself to attract that type of person. But by being crystal clear and focusing specifically on that goal, whatever it is, you can have goals in all different areas of your life. That is going to help you to be more intentional, because you're going to be aware of that thing. You're going to be focused on that thing. So your actions are going to lead you closer toward that thing. So being goal-driven rather than just letting life happen to you. So you need to think about clearly and specifically what you want. What are your goals? What are you working toward? The third thing is to know why. the why you're doing things is so important. Like I said, I knew that flossing was important, but I didn't know why. And so it wasn't until I learned why that I finally started flossing. So if you are just going through the motions of things, if you have a goal in mind and you want to find a husband, and it's just that, you just want to find a husband, that is not going to drive you as much as saying you want to find a husband or a life partner because you want to experience the world with someone, or you want to have a family and be able to travel the world and all of these different things, whatever it is to you, but it's going to help you to connect more deeply if you know why you are doing something. And that goes across the board. Like I said before, I would go to those meetings and I would go because of the food, which really is not a reason to go. That wasn't even my reason. That's just what I say now. But if I had a why, it would have been so much more meaningful and it would have taken me to different places. So having a why, knowing why you're doing things is so important. It is so important knowing why you're doing things. And the last thing is to lean into what makes you happy and what makes you feel good. So I already talked about this in creating the life that you want. But if you just are having a hard time, like thinking about what it is you want, then focus more on what would feel good and start there. And like I said, it can be something as simple as having a more positive attitude. Like, imagine what life would be like if you had a more positive attitude, if we all had a more positive attitude. Like, that is something truly that I have been working on and I have been very intentional on. And it takes being so intentional and so focused in every single moment when you have a negative thought, checking yourself and saying, no, this is not the life that I want. I want to be positive. I want to be optimistic so that I can be happier. Because if I'm happy, I can spread that to other people. I can help each other. I can help other people. And also, it just feels good to be happy. So what feels good for you? What makes you excited? And how can you do more of those things? Start there, because it's going to be easiest to be intentional and to change those things, the things that make you feel good, the things that make you happy, whatever they are. Spend some time thinking on them. But at the end of the day, work hard to be intentional, because it is so important to go through life for a reason. It is important to work towards something. It is important to be proactive in your own life. You can create the life that you want, or at least you can get yourself closer to the life that you want. Don't spend so much time not knowing what you want or not thinking about what you want. I did that for so long when the answers were inside of me, just like the answers are inside of you. You just have to go inward and you have to connect with yourself and you have to listen and go through different experiences and be intentional with what you want on the other side. It is so important, everything you do, every single day, to be intentional. Love hard. Be happy as you can be. Work as hard as you can, but for those times. You know, if you're trying to work hard and you're also trying to do a million different things, it's not going to work as well as if you just focus on the one thing, you're intentional with that, you finish that, and then you move on to the next thing. One thing at a time, being intentional for all aspects at your life. It will take you closer to the life that you desire if you know what it is you want. So thank you so much for showing up with me. Keep showing up for yourself regardless of where you are. If you do, there is nowhere that you can go but up. If you would like more free resources, you can head over to showuptogoup.com. Bye.